Hi students, this is Mrs. Lindstrom. In this presentation, I will be introducing you to a rhetorical analysis strategy called SOAPSTone. You will use this strategy to help you understand and analyze texts from class, or really any text you encounter in life in general, as well as to help you better structure and present your own writing. So let's get started. We need to begin by first unpacking the acronym. SOAPSTone stands for Speaker, Occasion, Audience, Purpose, Subject, and Tone. As a memory tool, we use acronyms to abbreviate words or phrases. This helps us to save time, effort, or space in our brains. So when we encounter a new piece of text, or maybe a political cartoon, or something that's going to need some analysis on our part, it's good to get in the habit of start thinking SOAPSTone. Well, what is soapstone exactly? Some of you may even have it in your house, maybe as a backsplash or a countertop in your kitchen. This is the material we are using to establish a play on words for our mnemonic device to help you remember the soapstone process. The purpose of learning and using soapstone is so that we can be the best critical thinkers or writers possible. You need to recognize that any good composition, whether written, spoken, or drawn, is carefully planned. Someone creating a piece has an agenda, just as when you sit down to write, you have an agenda as well. Utilizing the soapstone analysis process will help you to better comprehend a text or image in depth, as well as help you plan your own compositions. Okay, so back to the acronym. It isn't as simple as it looks on the surface. For example, you might assume that speaker simply means who is doing the talking or the writing of the piece, right? Wrong. There's a lot more to identifying who the speaker of a text is. Same with occasion, audience, purpose, subject, and tone. Now, tone can be hard for some to grasp due to subtleties in language and innuendos, so it really needs some attention on our part. Okay, so now let's move on to take a deeper look at each aspect of SOAPSTone, starting with the speaker. Defined as the voice that tells the story, or in nonfiction the author, I need you to remember that it's not enough simply just to name the speaker. What can you say about the speaker based on references to the text? Can you identify their age, their background, their experiences, or biases? What do we know about the author's life and views that may shape the text? Occasion is the time, place, current situation, or context in which the author is writing. You need to understand that all writing does not occur in a vacuum. All writers are influenced by the larger occasion, an environment of ideas, attitudes, and emotions that swirl around a broad issue. Then there is the immediate occasion, an event or situation that catches the writer's attention and triggers a response. Moving on to audience. The intended audience for the piece. So, at whom is this text directed? It's not enough to simply say, well, anyone who reads it, or anyone who's listening to this. You will want to identify a certain audience by describing some of its characteristics. The purpose of the piece seems simple enough. Why is the author writing this? The purpose could be purely a personal one. For example, maybe to make themselves feel better or get rid of some guilt, to encourage action, or maybe just to entertain us. But it could also be directed at a particular audience. You will have to decide what the message is and how the author wants the audience to respond. When you sit down to write, you have to decide how you want your audience to respond. You should be able to state the subject in a few words or a very short phrase. In literature, we usually refer to this as the main idea or themes. Tone. The attitude of the author. Now, if you're watching or listening to a speech, so the words are spoken out loud, it's easier to sense the tone because you can hear it in their voice and it can be heightened through body language. With the written word, however, tone extends meaning beyond just what's on the page, and you must learn to unpack this tone by looking at things like diction, which is word choice, syntax, which is the sentence construction or structure, and imagery, through metaphors, similes, and other types of figurative language. It's important to remember that this process should be used as a reader and as a writer. When you sit down to experience and analyze a text or image, take notes using SOAPSTone. And when you sit down to write a piece, you will need to use SOAPSTone for part of your pre-writing. The easiest way to take notes using SOAPSTone is to create a chart or fill out the template given to you. As you practice this method, you will find it becomes increasingly natural for you, and you'll get to a point where you just inherently default to this process. Thanks for watching, everybody. I look forward to seeing you implement this in class.